Hey, so my name's Chris. Everybody say, hey, Chris. Hey, Chris. Awesome. Hey, we're starting a new series tonight. By the way, I'm one of our pastors here at SCC, but one of the most fun parts of my month is when I get to come up here and hang out and speaking to you guys live a bit. And I get to kick off our series tonight called Cool Guy. And I looked for a hat that looked like that guy's, and I couldn't find one, so didn't wear it. So I want to start out with this question, like, if you had this superpower that, like, you could just, like, call fire down from the sky and burn something up, wouldn't that be pretty cool? Yeah. Okay, not a person, okay? Don't go there. But, like, if you could just call fire down, like, if you're angry at some of you guys got new cars and they're hand-me-downs, and sometimes maybe they don't run so well, and so you're thinking, I wish I could just blow it up. Well, maybe that would be a cool superpower to have. Well, I want to warn you guys, when I get to talking about our passage tonight, it's kind of a lot of verses. As a matter of fact, there's a reference to it in your outline, but it's going to be up on the screens because we couldn't fit it all. So I want to get you guys, if you'll be patient with me, before it's over, I'm going to tell you about a guy that had superpowers and called fire down and just burned a whole bunch of stuff up. Cool? All right. So you got to stay with me. Now, so we're starting this series, Cool Guy, and I just wanted to kind of start this off by reading you guys something. There's this website called Psych Central. It's where they're kind of a leader in mental health development, right? And some of you probably know somebody that could use a little some of that. But so they're a leader in like mental health development and information. And they wrote a paper called The Fine Line Between Confidence and Cockiness. Okay, so you guys know what confidence is. You guys know what being cocky or bragging is. So they kind of said that we're making a lot of noise. What am I doing? Wires? It's off my cheek. There we go. We're going to edit that out on video so nobody at home knows it ever happened. Okay, so you guys got to hear that and see that. So one of the things they said is that one of the difference between confidence and cockiness was like style, like having style. Would some of you guys say, you know, I got style, I dress nice? Would you guys say that about yourselves? Okay, or like a bling addiction. Okay, all you have to do is like watch a hip hop video and you know what I mean by a bling addiction. Okay, there's a difference between having style and having to have better than everybody else style. Another thing they listed was active listening. Now this is like a real quality of a good friend, somebody who can listen to you. As a matter of fact, some of you guys are going to exhibit that while I'm talking to you tonight. Active listening, so you're paying attention and your brain's working and you're actually listening. While some of you guys might go the cockiness route and have what they call the monologue, which is where you just talk the whole time somebody else is talking. So, sorry, that might upset somebody, but it's cool. So active listening versus the monologue. The other one is ambition. Okay, some of you guys might want to grow up and like be business leaders, right? You want to grow up and do well for yourself. You want the 4-car garage and all that, and that's cool. That's cool. So some of you guys might want to be very ambitious, but there's a difference between ambition and ruthlessness. Ruthlessness is like these guys you see, they get in trouble because they've been stealing money from their business. You know what I mean? These guys that are like stepping on everybody to get what they want. And so there's a difference between being ambitious and being ruthless. So the question is, how can a Christian be confident but not cocky? And that brings us to our title, The Great Confidence Conundrum. I promise nobody else that preaches to you guys is going to use the word conundrum. Okay, so just quick raise your hand. Does anybody know what the word conundrum means? Awesome. I get to teach you guys something outside the Bible. That's the dream, folks. Okay, so the definition of the word conundrum is a confusing and difficult problem or question. It's something hard to solve. It's kind of like, how can a Christian be confident without bragging? How can I wear an outfit and be happy about it without feeling like I'm showing off? How can I get a new car and show all my friends without it feeling like I'm bragging that I got something or I'm better than they are? You know, so most of us know somebody we would say, that person's kind of cocky. You know, most of us know somebody like that. That person always brags about himself, or she's always bragging about the new stuff she's got and how I don't have these things. And I just kind of want to start off with answering, how can a Christian be confident without being cocky? And I'm going to respond with number one, so write this down. You don't have to be cocky to be confident. There's a difference. As a matter of fact, 1 Corinthians 1:31, this guy named Paul that wrote most of the New Testament, this is what he says: if you want to boast, boast only about the Lord. Boast only about the Lord. If you want to boast, and the word boast just means brag. So if you want to brag, brag only about the Lord. In other words, don't brag about how great you are, brag about how great God made you. You can still kind of take a few compliments that way, and there's nothing wrong with that. Have you ever met somebody with like a fancy title, or like seen these people on TV? And so they're always trying to convince people that they're in charge because their name is like director so-and-so, or like assistant director or somebody. You know, most of those people, like, they spend all their time trying to tell people that they're in charge. But I've kind of found that if you have to tell everybody that you're in charge, you're really not. And that's kind of what it is when you're bragging. If you have to brag that you're better than everybody else, you're really not. And it's kind of the same thing. All right, so back in the Old Testament, I said we were going to get to the whole superpowers thing. There was a guy named Elijah, okay? And now Elijah was a prophet, so which meant like God would speak to him, and he would then share things with people that God had said, or God had said for them to do. So the land is like 3 years into a drought. 3 years. Now, if you don't know what a drought is, there's no water. So if there's no water, there's nothing to drink. There's nothing for your animals to... There's nothing for you to pour on your plants. There's nothing, and therefore, if you can't water your crops, there's nothing to eat. So a drought in and of itself often becomes a famine in an agricultural society that depends on growing crops and feeding animals. So they were in a rough time. Now, there's this guy. Okay, so if Elijah is Batman, there's this guy named Ahab, and Ahab would be the... Nobody knows who his arch enemy? The Joker. Okay, so now imagine it this way. Okay, Ahab is like the Joker. So he's crazy and he does weird stuff to his people, especially when he gets hungry. And right about now, he's hungry. Okay, they're 3 years into this drought. Now Batman, Elijah, he's the hero of our story. So he's the one that's going to have some cool superpowers, okay? Finally, these two come face to face. So it's like if you're watching one of those movies, this is when the two main characters come face to face and it's about to go down, okay? So this is what happens. Elijah says, now summon all Israel to join me at Mount Carmel, along with the 450 prophets of Baal and the 400 prophets of Asherah who are supported by Jezebel. Now, just a quick little bit of backstory. Jezebel is the queen. That's Ahab's wife, okay? Baal was believed to be the lord of the sky, and he was like a false god, like he didn't really exist. In modern terms, we would probably call him like a demon. Asherah was believed to be the queen of heaven. So that's kind of, they thought that, okay, well, we got our gods and you got yours. And so picking back up with verse 20, so Ahab summoned all the people of Israel and the prophets to Mount Carmel, okay, it's a big mountain. Then Elijah stood in front of them and said, how much longer will you waver, hobbling between two opinions? If the Lord is God, follow him. If Baal is God, then follow him. But the people were completely silent. And here's why. So Jezebel gets married to Ahab, and she moves from a foreign land, and she brings all these gods that like they'd never heard of before. Before she arrived, they kind of just had Baal. Well, now they got Asherah, and they got all these other gods because she worshipped all these things. And she's like, so if I'm marrying you, you're going to start worshiping all these things too. So that's where they're at. And the people are confused, and they're like, wait, so this guy, he's supposed to be the Lord of the heaven, but then the God that I've always followed, he's supposed to live in heaven. I'm a little confused about who I'm supposed to follow. So instead of actually speaking up and having a voice, they were silent. Verse 22, then Elijah said to them, I am the only prophet of the Lord who is left, but Baal has 450 prophets. Now bring 2 bulls. The prophets of Baal may choose whichever one they wish and cut it into pieces and lay it on the wood of their altar, but without setting fire to it. I will prepare the other bull and lay it on the wood on the altar, but not set fire to it. So Elijah at this point is kind of messing with them. He's like, okay, so I want you to go through all this work and put your sacrifices up on your altar, but don't light fire to it. So they're probably very confused. They're trying to figure out what's going on. And here's the thing. If you want to burn something, you need fire. And they would have known that regardless of how confused they were. So they're sitting there wondering, how can I compete against this guy? This guy, he's talking crazy. So even though they followed the guy that was crazy, they're thinking he's crazy too, which is kind of normal back then. Verse 24, and he keeps talking to him. He says, then call on the name of your God, which was Baal, and I will call on the name of the Lord, which is our God. The God who answers by setting fire to the wood is the true God. And all the people agreed. Then Elijah said to the prophets of Baal, you go first, for there are many of you. Choose one of the bulls and prepare it and call on the name of your God, but do not set fire to the wood. At this point, Elijah has kind of thrown down a challenge. Okay, so at this point, it's my God versus your God. It goes farther than like Batman and Joker. At this point, this is my God. This is who I say is the real God. I say your God doesn't exist. And they're saying the same thing to Elijah. But it's to the point to where this is where it's kind of come down to like the ultimate showdown, okay? This is where one of them's God, the other doesn't exist. And everybody knows it. So it's finally time to like get rid of all the confusion and find out, okay, who is really God? Verse 26. So they prepared one of the bulls and placed it on the altar. Then they called on the name of Baal from morning until noontime, shouting, O Baal, answer us. But there was no reply of any kind. Then they danced, hobbling around the altar that they had made. So they start dancing. They're like, well, if this isn't going to work and he's not listening, maybe we'll start dancing and we'll get Baal's attention. And then Baal can show this other God that he's the real one. Verse 27 says, about noontime, Elijah began mocking them. Okay, now this is where things get fun and interesting. Okay, this is where Elijah shows us the difference between being confident when you know what you're talking about and being cocky when you're just trying to sound like you do. About noontime, he began mocking them. You'll have to shout louder, he scoffed, for surely he is a god. Perhaps he is daydreaming or is relieving himself. Now, if you don't know what relieving himself means, basically Elijah just said, maybe your God is in the toilet and he doesn't know you need him right now. Okay? That was funny. So, he's saying basically maybe your God's in the bathroom and he just doesn't know what's going on. You know, give him a few minutes, whatever. Or maybe he's away on a trip or is asleep and needs to be wakened. So they shouted louder, and following their normal custom, they cut themselves with knives and swords until the blood gushed out. They raved all afternoon until the time of evening sacrifice, but there was still no sound, no reply, no response. Then Elijah called to the people. Come over here. They all crowded around him as he repaired the altar of the Lord that had been torn down. He took 12 stones, one to represent each of the tribes of Israel, and he used the stones to rebuild the altar in the name of the Lord. Remember, that's our God. That's the name of the Lord. Use those altars. He repaired the altar of the Lord that had been torn down. I lost my place. Then he dug a trench. That's what happens. I told y'all there were a lot of verses. Then he dug a trench around the altar, large enough to hold about 3 gallons of water. He piled wood on the altar, cut the bull into pieces, and laid the pieces on the wood. How many of you guys have ever stood like really close to like a big cow? Like a bull, like with horns, you know, the ones that will stick you. Okay, one person's ever been close to a cow. Okay. You guys eat them all the time. Okay. So here's the thing. This took Elijah a lot of work. Did you know that a bull, like a full-grown adult bull, can weigh like 900 to 2,400 pounds? And he just took time to cut this thing into little pieces to put it up on an altar. That took a lot of work. So if you're doing that much work, you kind of already have an idea of what your outcome is. So at this time, he's already taunted them, and now they've like given up on their God. Like these people that worship devoutly their God had given up because they said, oh my God. Well, it's ironic. They said, he's not listening to us. He's not here. Then he said, and this is Elijah, then he said, fill 4 large jars with water and pour the water over the offering and the wood. So he wants to pour water over the offering. Now, things don't usually catch on fire when they're wet. So at this point, he's kind of adding insult to injury. He's kind of saying, I'm about to do something awesome and bring down something cool, even though I just soaked everything with water. After they had done this, he said, do the same thing again. So then they poured even more water on everything. Now, do it a 3rd time. So they did as he said, and the water ran down the altar and even filled the trench. Now, at the usual time for an offering, for offering the evening sacrifice, Elijah the prophet walked up to the altar and prayed, O Lord, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Prove today that you are God in Israel, and that I am your servant. Prove that I have done all this at your command. O Lord, answer me, so these people will know that you, O Lord, are God, and that you have brought them back to yourself. Now, you got to understand, I gave you a little backstory on how all these other gods kind of started being worshipped. And this was kind of Elijah's, like, in his mind, this would have been his defining moment. This is the moment he'd been waiting for ever since all these other gods set up shop in his town and in his nation. This was what Elijah had been waiting for this whole time. This was a big deal for him. It was his one chance. He felt at this point, I believe that in his heart, he felt like this was his one chance to do something really defining with his life. Immediately, the fire of the Lord flashed down from heaven and burned up the young bull, the wood, the stones, and the dust. It even licked up all the water in the trench, and when all the people saw it, they fell face down on the ground and cried out, "The Lord, He is God." Yes, the Lord is God. Then Elijah commanded, "Seize all the prophets of Baal. Don't let a single one escape." So the people seized them all, and Elijah took them down to the Kishon Valley and killed them there. I told you I would get to the part where a guy had some superpowers. So at this point, Elijah has proved to an entire nation that all the fake gods that they put up and they bragged about weren't real, but the God that he walked confidently with, the God that he walked in faith with, even though he was a little sarcastic from time to time about it, and he was kind of a smart mouth. And now here's the thing. Here's the difference between cockiness and confidence. Had Elijah done all that and nothing happened, that would have been cockiness. But Elijah knew he had faith in his God. He had faith in what he was talking about. So he wasn't just talking for the sake of talking. Elijah had confidence in who he was as a man of God. Just like you guys, when you go to school, you're able to do that in confidence. You're able to go confidently into school as a child of God if you're a Christian. You're able to go in there and know that, you know what, things are going to be rough, things are going to be bad, but just like Elijah, I'm not going to give up my faith based on what everybody around me is doing. I can walk confidently instead of being like everybody else who brags about stuff that doesn't even matter. Okay, and let me just pause there for a minute. Most of the things that you guys brag about now, and okay, so I'm going to go ahead and throw myself in that, okay, because I'm just as bad sometimes. So sometimes I'm preaching to myself. But the things that we brag about now don't matter a few seconds later. Have you ever noticed, it's like when you get, girls, maybe guys too, when you get a new pair of shoes and you're like, check out my new shoes, and you're bragging about them, and you're like, oh, these are the best shoes. I would give up millions of dollars, I hope not, for these shoes, and these are the best shoes ever. But then like 10 minutes later, somebody pulls up in a new car and everybody forgot about your shoes. That's what happened to the prophets of Baal. They came into town talking about their shoes, and Elijah drove a Ferrari to the party. That's the difference between cockiness, which is temporary, and confidence, which, if it's placed in the right person, is eternal. So I want to lead with that to number 2, and that's this. Write this down. True confidence has nothing to do with us. True confidence has nothing to do with us. Jeremiah 9:23 and 24 says, this is what the Lord says. Don't let the wise boast, okay? So don't let the wise brag in their wisdom, or the powerful boast in their power, or the rich boast in their riches. But those who wish to boast should boast in this alone, that they truly know me. Now remember, Jeremiah is also a prophet. He's speaking with the voice of God, that they truly know me and understand that I am the Lord who demonstrates unfailing love and who brings justice and righteousness to the earth, and that I delight in these things. I, the Lord, have spoken. In other words, God doesn't really care how cute your outfit is or isn't. That doesn't mean it's not. But he doesn't care that you have the best looking car or the best looking truck or the best new tires or whatever. He cares. He even delights in the fact that he gets to have a relationship with you because you want to have a relationship with him. Those are the things God delights in. Everything else is temporary. Number 3. I'm going to go ahead and get the band to come back. This is number 3. Our confidence comes from a connection with our Creator. Our confidence comes from a connection with our Creator. Now let's go back to Elijah for just a second. And let's rewind this all the way to the beginning of this chapter that we just read most of. You guys just did more Bible reading in one night than some of you might do this week, so congratulations on that. But our confidence comes from a connection with our Creator. Now, if we skip all the way back to 1 Kings 18, just verse 1 and 2, this is what we see. Later on in the third year of the drought, the Lord said to Elijah, "Go and present yourself to King Ahab. Tell him that I will soon send rain." Now remember, I said they were in a drought, so they were starving. There was nothing to drink, therefore they couldn't grow crops and they couldn't feed their animals. God says, go tell King Ahab, go tell your enemy, this guy that would do anything to kill you. He says, go tell him that soon I will send rain. So Elijah went to appear before Ahab. Meanwhile, the famine had become very severe in Samaria. Now here's the thing. With all these other things going on, it would have been easy for Elijah to say, you know what, I'm too good to go do what you've asked me to do. I'm just going to do it right here. So let's put that in modern terms. Let's say Elijah was one of you guys sitting in one of these chairs. And maybe you guys will have an awesome story to tell one day like that. But let's say that Elijah was sitting right in here. This might be what he would be referring to in that moment. He might say, I'm going to keep my confidence private. My confidence in my walk with Christ, I'm going to keep that private. I'm going to have that great walk with Christ, and I'm going to be the best Christian ever on Sundays when I'm at church. Maybe he's saying, I'm going to be the best Christian ever and read my Bible every night in private at home. Or I'm never going to talk to anybody about my faith because I'm just going to keep it all right here. And so instead of going to Samaria to talk to King Ahab, I'm just going to hang out with my faith right here. And when I leave, I'm just going to match his cockiness with more cockiness because everybody knows that makes sense. As opposed to just going into a situation confidently, knowing that, yeah, you might catch some junk once in a while, if you're Elijah, of course, not you guys. If you might catch some junk once in a while about being, oh, well, that's the church kid. That's the one, oh, he's not going to come hang out with us. She's not going to come do that with us next weekend. She's all about church, and she's talking about, she would go if Jesus was going, but she won't go because I'm going. You might catch some of that in your life. But you know what? At the end of the day, one of those bulls was left unburnt because one of those sacrifices was real, and the other one was just something somebody bragged about until ultimately they found out that it didn't matter. You see, our confidence, real confidence, only comes from one person, and that's God. That's your relationship with Him. And so I want to give you guys some next steps. If you'll turn over your card, if you'll turn over your connection card, the first one says, I'm asking Jesus into my heart tonight. Now, you know what? Maybe you're here tonight and you would say, you know what? I brag a lot. I would be more like the braggers. I keep my faith kind of hidden away, and I'm a Christian on Sundays when I'm at church, and I tell my parents that I say my prayers, and maybe that's you tonight, and the truth is maybe you really don't have that relationship, so you really don't have that confidence. Well, if that's you, here in a minute, when I close in prayer, I just want you to repeat the words after me. And if you make that decision and you ask Jesus into your life, I just ask that you check that box on the back of your card, that first next step. Now for the second next step says this: from now on, I'm going to base my confidence on my relationship with Jesus. And it should say, and not on the things that I got or how I look or what I wear. That's what I wanted to put on there, but I didn't think it would fit. So that's the next step I'm challenging everybody in here to take tonight. From now on, you're going to base your confidence. You're going to base your life and who you are and how you feel about yourself. You're going to base that on who you know, and that's Jesus Christ. Let's pray. And again, if you want to make that decision tonight, just pray after me. Lord Jesus, I know that I've made a few mistakes, and I know that I've probably bragged about some things that you really don't even care about. But tonight I want to ask you into my heart and ask you to forgive my sins and all the things that I've done wrong and all the mistakes. I trust that you love me enough to grant me that confidence that I can walk with you and not fear what happens tomorrow or what people might say about me, but that I can be real. That for the first time I can walk out of here and I can be who you want me to be, and I can be the person outside of these walls and outside of my bedroom and outside of my home. I can be the same person when I walk into school tomorrow morning that I am right this minute. And I'm not going to just let it stay on the altar. I'm going to take it with me because I believe in big things. And I believe that you did die for my sins, and I thank you for being my Lord and Savior. In Jesus' name, amen. Come on.